So when someone comes to Shariah Advisory Council meeting, for example, what we do is that we discuss what we all understand. So if someone, a beginner, come and try to understand the issue, we are not going to repeat again from day one. Contract, ada 4 rukun, no. We are going to continue with our deliberation. You come, you have to follow us. Or otherwise, we end up a meeting that can finish in 1 hour, because we only discuss the issue, end up in 1 day. Why? We have to explain the whole thing about Islamic again. We can't do that. That one you have to have Zahid to tell you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aznan. Yes, please, on the floor. Please introduce.
MBA second semester of Islamic Banking and Finance specialization. I just want to comment on Dr. Aznan's presentation, that how he experienced the front desk marketing person's explanation about the Islamic banking product and the conventional product. So this is the normal impression of any person who is going to the Islamic bank. And even what we have been taught is with the conventional banking calculators and the formulas, same time value of money and all these things. We don't feel any difference of what is Islamic and this one. Like BBA, it was practiced for so many years in Malaysia, and it has been quashed by the High Court in the Affin Bank and Zulkifli case. So it has been practiced for so many years, and it has been accepted as a norm. So when it has been encountered, I think by reluctantly it has been taken away. And for the Bayal Ina, it is only the view of Shafi, not with the other schools of thoughts. They agree with that. Maybe the schools of thoughts emerged when there was a time gap and they have no access of contact with each other, scholars. It has happened. Now we have every access with each others, and we can come to a conclusion which is nearer to Sharia. Rather than we have to get more benefit or profit, maximization of profit in that sense. So when it is very clear, then we have to come to a conclusion. And second thing, instead of restricting ourselves within the Malaysian context, why we should not interact with the IOFI standards. For example, Taqi Usmani's comment on Sukuk, the existing Sukuk market, 85% are un-Islamic, according to his statement. So one place it is Islamic, in another place is un-Islamic. This kind of contradiction should not give a better image of Islamic banking and finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Well, I try to avoid discussing about the Shariah issues, because I don't think I can do fair to those who come to want to listen about Shariah governance. IIBF may want to have one day in where we talk about the contemporary Shariah issues in Islamic banking and finance. Then there we talk about Shariah issues. Then fair for me to give my opinion, and also fair for those who come. Nevertheless, let me give you one general opinion on that. Shariah decision is about understanding the issues. Of course, we endeavor to follow the international standard. Nevertheless, in certain circumstances, based on a presented case to us, we may have different opinion. Even those in the Shariah scholars of IOFI, we have what we call consensus that we may differ in one or two opinion or many opinion. Yet we understand one thing. The man in front of me, the Shariah scholar, will give different opinion. What I'm doing, he also has his own evidence. This is very important to have to every scholars for that matter. No, in any way, in any situation, a scholar shall have in their opinion that another scholar will give different opinion than him. Said, oh, this man give opinion because of dunya, because of what he said or paid. It shouldn't be in that manner. So, I myself have different opinion. Haji Rustam here can testify on that, on many issues that other scholars agree on that. But never come to my heart that those who disagree with me, he give opinion because he think other things. To me, when he give opinion different than me, it's about me looking at it from one angle, he looking at it from different angle. All of us is one intention only, is for us to improve the state of Islamic banking and finance, not only in Malaysia, everywhere of the world. I'll give you opinion. I'm also advising Absa Islamic Bank in South Africa. I don't want to mention any opinion. One opinion, I say no here. I say no here. Go there, I say yes. It so happened that the Shariah and the scholars, the Shariah, what we call Shariah, internal Shariah scholar in the bank, managed to get my opinion in Malaysia. He said, Dr. Aznan, I searched on the internet, on your writing, you say no to this. Now you come here, you say yes to us. So how can? I said, brother, your situation is not my situation. Our Islamic banking in Malaysia, I think 50 years ahead you. So our regulatory different, our Shariah, our regulatory different, our accounting different, many things different. So what I give you here, that's why I said applicable only in South Africa. If you go to other place, different opinion come. That's why in Hamali School of Law, we all know, Lil Ahmad Qawlan. Imam Ahmad has two opinions. One say yes, one say no. I say, what is Imam Ahmad? One say yes, one say no. Because he look at it from different angle. So, a scholar should have that in our mind. When I say no to Bayina, for example, I totally respect those who say yes. I believe when they say yes, their intention is not for bad thing, but for good thing. At the end of the day, God will ask us on what we have in our intention and based on the usul fiqh that we have studied. That one issue. Second issue is that we talk about Sharia governance. I believe, I agree, and I hope that we can take the Malaysian style of Sharia governance as a template. It's a very good Sharia governance framework. At the banks level, and also at the macro level, at the country level. I really hope that one day, many other jurisdictions will look at it from that angle as well. To have two layers, then a proper Sharia governance at bank levels, then they have at central bank level, in which they can have another layer of discussion. Very good. Decision will be very, very prudent, and we have the harmonized opinion on that matter. I hope that I answer you. Or otherwise, we want to discuss about contemporary Sharia issues, let's have another discussion on contemporary Sharia issues in Islamic banking and finance. Then we talk about the difference of opinion, how people deal with this, and so forth and so on. Allahu A'lam.
Thank you, Dr. Aznan. Shall we have the lady first? Okay, please.
Sheila, PhD student here. The SGF is said to be gearing Islamic financial institutions from simple compliance to attaining a full or Sharia-based operating environment. What do you mean by this, and what are the standards of compliance? Are we going towards purity of transactions? You know, the Tayyib principles of lawful and good? I mean, there is no definition in the SGF about what you mean by Sharia-based operating environment or full compliance. Okay, secondly, you talk about the Sharia advisors being accountable. Can they be sued for their wrong decisions? Thirdly, can the SGF help rating agencies with the rating of banks on Sharia compliance performances? Thank you.
You are looking at... Okay. You take the first question? Okay.
The first question is about attaining Sharia-based environment. I believe that is the so-called aspiration under the framework that eventually all banks are supposed to create that Sharia-based environment. In fact, from day one, actually, from the beginning, from the establishment of a Islamic bank or a Takaful operator, they are supposed to attain a fully Sharia compliant or fully Sharia-based environment. But you know that it's not as simple as that. Because in the dual banking system, they're bound to be, these are the challenges that we have in the context of Malaysia because we have a dual banking system. And we observe that the challenges facing the Islamic banks that when they develop a particular product, it will have some influence from the conventional products. Now, when these things happen, there will always be an argument whether how Islamic is the Islamic product, because it's like a mirror image of the conventional products. To me, Sharia-based is a subject issue because, for example, if I can give you an example, currently on the liability side, for example, the banks are doing mudarabah. The banks are mostly doing mudarabah on the liability side. Currently, we are witnessing the emergence of CMT, commodity murabah transaction, as a liability product. Previously, CMT is only being used as on the asset side for liquidity purposes or for financing for liquidity or for financing purposes. But now, Tawaruk, CMT is only based on Tawaruk, has crept into the liability side, where banks are now offering liabilities or liability product based on CMT. Now, if all banks move into that dimension, what do we see of this particular so-called environment? Are these Shariah based or compliant? I don't have answers. I think Dr. Aznan has mentioned in one of the forum there is no such thing as Shariah based or Shariah compliant. These are the same thing. To me, it's the same. But under this governance framework, we expect that the whole holiness of the so-called stakeholders, the board, the management, the Shariah committee members, and all the staff are fully aware of their responsibility toward attaining Shariah compliance. Because previously, prior to this SGF, even now, for example, there are a lot of so-called organs in the Islamic bank that does not really appreciate the working of Islamic banking. So we hope that by having the SGF, it will set a precedent for the bank to be more serious, to be more committed in terms of ensuring that eventually they will create a very so-called Shariah, fully Shariah compliant so-called structures or environment in the bank. If I can respond to that first question. SGF is mentioned that the Shariah advisors are accountable for their decisions. That was the whole idea why we put this accountability. We are not sure yet whether they can be sued, because when we put accountability, that we want them to be responsible for their decision, and when we put accountable, it put a commitment, so-called pressure on the banks to ensure that whenever the Shariah committee make a decision, it has to be backed by a very robust research work by the other Shariah whatever organs in the bank or whatever. Because the worry is that there are times, like I mentioned, Dr. Aznan, where they come to the Shariah committee with a very simplified research paper and ask for decisions. We do not want that to happen again. In fact, in our engagement with the Shariah committees in many banks, they complain to the central bank that if they look at the quality of the Shariah papers that submitted to them, some of them even doesn't merit to be scrutinized. Doesn't meet that minimum standards. But sometimes, because of pressure by the management and so on, they tend to give way. But in our case, that is not acceptable at all. That's why we say that the Shariah committee must be brave enough to reject those kind of submission, those kind of papers, those kind of research, if they felt that it will have a bearing on their position later on. Because if I can see example, if there's a case being brought to the court and the so-called the plaintiff or defendant says that it's not Shariah compliant, and if they invited the Shariah committee or the bank to give a statement, they must have a very strong so-called literature to support that decision that they made when they approved their product. That's the whole idea of having the accountability.